Okay, welcome to the BTM Club's In Conversation series. Of course, you all know that have been following the series what this is about: music, the legends in music, a mixing old and new UK and predominantly US artists. Today we've got a UK artist, which I was shocked to find out, but we will go into that further as we go along. Welcome to the show, Vanessa. Now, I have to make sure I pronounce the name correctly because I'm always making a mess of people's names and it's quite embarrassing. So is it Poolian?
Oh, I like that one though. That's very
Well, that's
French.
what I thought, because it kind of had a very French ending. The AN can be a on.
Yeah, it could be. It could be if you're in France.
But
yeah.
clearly it's not.
Well, in fact, it can be pronounced two ways. I mean, it could be pronounced Poolian because we have a French background as well.
Right.
But the spelling of the pronunciation that they use in the UK is Poolian.
Oh, Poolian, yeah.
Poolian.
Trust the UK to take the panache out of everything. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the French will do it, Poolian. The Italians will do it. The English, Poolian. Okay. If you're happy with Poolian, I am too. Lovely to see you, and thank you for talking to us. So let's hear your story, because it says you were originally from Bristol.
Grew up in Manchester, actually, but in terms of when the music started, that was in Bristol. So I was living in Bristol prior to moving to where I am now, which is Cardiff, Wales, UK. Yeah, not far from Bristol. It's not. It's only 40 minutes away from Bristol, so down the road.
But Cardiff's in another country. Let's be clear.
It is. I'm abroad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's abroad.
Yes.
Well, it's as abroad as we can get right now. So, at least you don't need a passport. So you grew up in Manchester. That's where you started.
Yes, I did. So I'll tell you a little bit about the history of how I grew up. It's very atypical to.
And that's why you're here.
Yeah. So grew up in Manchester and the greater Manchester area as well. And I was quite an academic child, actually. Okay. So I loved learning. And I really wanted to do music at a young age, but I wasn't permitted because I had a strict father who was like, you cannot do music, you have to do academic subjects. So couldn't do it, unfortunately.
And what's your father's background?
He's originally from Mauritius.
Right.
And his background is within the medical industry. So he was a charge nurse leading a team of nurses. Right. So yeah, that's completely different
and
to
your mother?
I'm doing. My mum also was a nurse, so medical again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both medical fields.
Yes.
Hence the academia.
Yeah.
And what they were expecting of you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was that. And also they'd moved from Mauritius. So yeah, they wanted a better life, and that's why they moved here. So they wanted to make sure they had a better life, their children had a better life, a better education, etc. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you started in Manchester, and when did you decide that you wanted to get into music?
You'll be very surprised, but it's only really officially 2 years ago.
Honey, I've lived so long, nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing.
Yeah, so the background is I've always loved music. Like I said, I wanted to do it as a profession or as a career, and also for, during my education or years of education, but I couldn't because of, obviously, father's like, no. But what I would do is rebel a little bit. And I used to sneak into the music room at school and just play some of the instruments. There's mainly pianos there. So I started to teach myself just a few basics on the keys, on the keyboards and pianos. But I didn't get very far with it because obviously it's like you can teach yourself, but then those were the days when we had no internet and you'd have to read everything in a book. And I just didn't have the resources. I literally just tried and I got so far. And then I
kind of needed possibly official lessons.
Yeah, I could have done.
how to read music, number one, and the fingering on the piano, because it's all one thing to when people say I'm self-taught, but they're playing the piano in a completely different way, and maybe possibly not getting the best out of it because the fingering change is not at the right place and things like that. So
definitely. But I am doing that now though, so I've started learning keys again, actually.
Right.
And I have
it's never too late, and you still look like a baby, so you got time.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's never too late to start.
Yeah.
So I'm starting now after these years. So going back to how I started music. So I was living in Bristol, and I met Anders Olinda, who is my keys player, who features on the tracks that we're going to be talking about in a minute. Yeah. And he was like probably the biggest inspiration in my life so far for music, because he really gave me the confidence. Like, he heard what I could do, and he said, you know what, you are talented enough to do this as a profession. And I was like, are you serious? Like, you think I could do this? And he was like, yeah, of course. I've heard your voice, I've heard what you can do, and I'm happy to work with you on music. And I was like, wow, because Anders has got a really interesting history when it comes to music. He's worked with I don't know if you know Deep Purple. I mean, they're massive, right? So he's worked with the lead singer. Well, they've had a few lead singers, but Glenn Hughes is one of the main singers, and he was in his band for 6 years, and he worked with PP Arnold as well.
Oh, well, PP is a legend. PP
she's a legend. So he's her main keys player right now.
Right.
So he works with her quite a lot. So I was actually quite surprised, because I felt, here's little old me who is wanting to do music, but yet somebody kind of believes in me and says, you can do this. And you've got.
Well, I think that in itself is a classic example of the difference that encouragement can make.
Definitely.
Because, it was a passion of yours, and sometimes our passion is not going to necessarily be our path, but it was a passion for you. But just that little bit of encouragement made you think, you know what, I'm going to do it, because just that little bit of belief. Yeah,
totally. It makes a difference. Like, who you surround yourself with and your support network can really make a difference to your path in life, and whether you pursue something and whether you have enough confidence in it. And I was astounded by that, because I don't know if it's a case of whether I really truly believed in myself. I think it was just more that, you'd look at other musicians and think, well, they're at this level, right? So therefore, and they've been doing it for years, so therefore I'm going to have to do it for years. But what Anders made me realize is that I've actually got a natural talent. He said this to me: you're a natural in your voice. You're not trained. You're not a trained musician, but there's something in your voice that's quite unique. And that was really nice to hear from that. And then
natural ability.
And discovered he was actually correct in it, because now I've created the tracks, I do get a lot of feedback saying that your voice is quite unique, actually, and we know it's you when we hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I mean, that's a great start, isn't it? Because, when you hear artists like Phyllis Hyman, you know her instantly, or Jean Carn, you know them instantly. You can pinpoint it, so that's quite something. But again, as you're saying, that little bit of encouragement really catapulted you to go forward and investigate further. But you didn't have that from mum and dad.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think, like, my immediate family, they're not musical at all.
Right.
I do have a cousin in Mauritius who's like pretty big over there. He's made it, and he's like very well known and sold a lot of records, etc. Right. But I didn't even make that connection. Like, I'm going to be doing music, as a career in the future. So it's a nice little surprise that life has thrown at me, actually.
Okay. So did you have other jobs before you went into the music?
Yes.
As the career?
Yeah, so it's going to be very, again, atypical to what a lot of musicians do, but I fell into the information technology industry, and and I had a job, started off programming, computer programming. That was my very first job. And then moved into like support, application support.
Right.
And I worked for Microsoft, could you believe, as well? So that was one of the companies.
Went in at the top then.
Yeah, so Microsoft, all the IT companies like BlackBerry, so the big corporates I worked for about 12 years in total. I was in that industry, and I did really well in it. I was promoted a few times, and I was working my way to the top. But when 2000,
always wanting to do something else, always having a yearning to do something else.
Yes, yeah, that's right. So 2014 is where everything changed, because I wasn't actually really that happy in that industry, if I'm going to be honest. My soul was calling for something else. And
a creative cannot be happy in that confined environment. Simple
exactly.
as that.
Totally, you got it. It was the creativity that was lacking.
Yeah.
And my forte is relationship building and networking. So I used that in my job, and that was rewarding, but that creativity, as you mentioned, that was missing. I felt like I've got to do something else, and I've got to be helping others as well in some way, helping people. So 2014, I actually started on a journey of coaching. So that's my day job at the moment. Right. I'm a professional coach. So that helped others to be the best versions of themselves, right?
Right.
And in doing that, I realized that I needed to be the best version of myself.
You're like, okay, I've given back enough now. You know what? I need to work on me. I've been develop them, but I need to work on me as the time is slipping away.
Yeah, that's it. It was like, need to look within and work on myself. So that's when I decided to start the musical journey, and I was just dabbling, and I was in an amateur band as well. But it was all just for fun, local pub singing, a bit of karaoke here and there.
I think the thing is, most people's story is very, very similar. Near on every artist that I've spoken to, they always knew music was where they were going to go. Few of them went straight into music and that was it. But a lot of them had little jobs beforehand before they got to that place. But what I want to really say is, by the time we see them, that is the finished product. And it really is that case of the duck on the pond. The duck is gliding, but the legs underneath are doing this. We see the finished product. We don't see the years of input that went before we see the finished product. So, many artists that are big started doing the local clubs and the local bars, etc., until they got where they are. So it's not a bad place to start.
Yeah, it's not. And I think I don't regret that I had another career, because there's a lot of transferable skills that I've learned from that. Yeah. And I've got a business head as well. So that also is quite important within the music industry. It's not just about making music. You have to understand the business aspects of it as well. So,
which has been the pitfall of many artists that didn't really know the business side. So you're already stepping in at an advantage, it seems.
I hope so, actually, because even though, yes, I've got business mind, the music industry is very different to the IT industry. So I'm like kind of using transferable skills, but then there's still a lot you need to learn, like distribution of music, PR, like who the right contacts are, etc. Right. And that's a learning, but that's what makes it exciting, because it's new.
Yeah, it's challenging, and you're learning new things, which is always stimulating.
Yes.
Yeah, rather than routine, and you don't even have to think anymore. You're just doing it on autopilot. So I guess, it is stimulating and keeping it exciting. So to the music, when did it actually start? When did you say this is it, and what was the first single for you?
Yeah, so it really actually properly started this year, but in terms of creating my first track, which was in 2019, so it wasn't that long ago, and that first track was Moving On, which I created with Anders Olinda, and we actually started that in my flat. So we were just in my flat then and talking about it and like, oh, need to add a bit of this. I wasn't actually planning on releasing it, believe it or not.
Okay.
I just wanted to do it. And it was also for my own personal benefit because if you listen to the lyrics, it's all about moving on to a new stage of life.
Right.
And that's what I was doing. So it was kind of like a bit of a healing process added to that as well. But when I sent it to a few people, so like within my network, Jill Sayward from Shakatack being one of those people. So I sent it to her. And the feedback we got was like amazing, like from my network. So Jill Sayward said she gets lots of tracks in every day from different people.
Naturally.
And this one caught her eye. She listened to it and she was like, I feel like this song has transported me to another place.
She said that?
Yeah, she said that. So it was really nice to hear that. And consequently, she said, would it be okay if I cover this? So put her vocals on it.
Right.
And I was like, wow, really? So I said, of course, yeah, I'd love to hear her take on it. So she did her own version of the track Moving On. So there's two versions out there. There's the original with my vocals.
Right.
And then there's her version as well.
Okay.
And she did a fantastic job of it. It was great because she put a lot of soul into it and it was very smooth and it just, it was lovely to hear.
So that's the Underwater album, is it? From the Underwater album?
The Underwater album is a separate album.
Okay.
The track Moving On is actually going on my Moving On album. So that's coming out next year.
Right.
The Underwater album was my own little project to stretch my skills in learning music technology.
Right.
So I created all that myself.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's an instrumental album. So each track tells a story about parts of my life. So it's quite interesting when you hear it. And I'm going to be putting some animation to it. So animation videos to the tracks, because then people can visually see what has gone on as well. So that's my own little side project.
And the story that's being told, I guess.
Yes, in each little track.
Yeah.
The story there.
Well, I mean, it's quite nice to have a collaboration and acknowledgement from somebody like her, because Shakatack were big. One of the big UK jazz funk bands in the early 80s. Early to mid 80s. So, it's good to have recognition from somebody like that who knows the field, is experienced, and are talented musicians themselves. You kind of feel you've got the stamp of approval. Yeah,
totally. It was just great to hear that from Jill, that she just loved the vibe as well. She said the vibe was really like she could resonate with it, and she really enjoyed listening to it. Yeah. And that was like the first 10 seconds of it she liked. And that's what prompted her to carry on listening to the whole track. So so it's important to have a good intro.
In 10 seconds. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So that was fabulous that she decided to cover it. So
tell me about the collaboration with Tom Browne. How did he get involved with you? Because I think that's what brought us together, because I interviewed him and he was talking about the new album, Come What May, that he released last year, I think. And that was our connection. And then he said, oh yeah, but he's on the track as well. I was like, hold on a minute, I'm late to this party. When did this happen? So how did that connection come about? Yeah, so that, I think when you found out about it, it was quite recent, because it was like probably not long after the track was created, actually, that I got in touch with you. So I saw your interview with Tom Browne, and that's why I reached out, because I really liked the interview. I liked your style of questioning and everything, and I liked the responses that Tom gave, and got to, the audience got to know a lot more about him. And you probably discovered that he's also an airline pilot as well as a musician. I did indeed, because you saw that in the interview, because as I was saying to him, we've all had the music and bought the music, been partying to the music since it first came out at the end of the 90s, end of the 70s. And I said to him, I see you sitting in the cockpit with this trumpet, I thought it was just a photo shoot. I didn't know you were actually a pilot. I thought it was just a stylish photo shoot, you know. And then he said, no, that's well, as you heard in the interview, no, I am a pilot. That is my job. And he said he was actually working all the way through the pandemic, delivering
yes, he was.
medical
You're right,
supplies.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I love about these interviews. It just humanizes the people that we have been admiring for years. It brings them to the public and lets them know a little more about this figure that, you know, you've seen from afar. So it was nice to know that he's so bright, is a pilot, and, you know,
he
was
is
doing a lot in pandemic.
So he's a very intelligent man.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so again, a simple story behind contacting Tom Browne. Very much like Jill Saywood, I sent her my track. With Tom Browne, we got talking because I sent him Moving On again. So the same track I sent to Jill Saywood, I sent to him, and he liked it.
Right.
He liked the sound of it. He said, yeah, this is a good track. And I was like, oh, wow, Tom Browne likes it. This is great.
Yeah.
You know? So, and that was in 2000 and end of 2019. I had that first conversation with Tom Browne about it. And then we just kept in touch, really. So messages back and forth about music. And then Anders and I created Keep Your Spirits High. So that's the name of the track that I worked on with Tom Browne. And once that was created,
nice, I have to say.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very nice track.
Thank you. And we just felt, well, I came up with the idea that it needs something a little bit extra. It's got, you know, great sounds, the harmonies on it, the melody is great, but there's something missing on it. We need something a little bit extra. And I think like maybe a few days later, I just saw Tom Browne pop up on my social media, and I thought, do you know what? That would be a great idea, just to perhaps add some of Tom Browne's.
Yeah, the little pink cloud came up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like,
maybe I should have a horn section from Tom Browne.
Yeah, just, you know, my brain works like that. It's very creative. So I'm always like thinking of new ways of how to improve something.
Right.
So yeah, it's like a little light bulb moment. Right. Okay. So I just asked him, sent him a message, and obviously sent him the skeleton version of the track as well. And he said, yeah, I really like this. So I asked him, would you like to work with Anders and I on it? And he said, yeah, sure. And I was like, yes, great.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how's it doing?
How's it going so far? So we firstly advertised the track on our website.
Yeah.
And then, it kind of takes about 3 weeks to a month to distribute the track, which I do myself. So I had to put it through some major channels. And there was a little bit of a moment where they wouldn't actually put the track through because of the wording on the artwork and whether that matched what I typed in the on their website. Yeah, the distributor's website. So you have to put certain wording a certain way, and it can be a bit tricky sometimes. So they kept sending it back saying you need to change it, but they wouldn't tell me what I needed to change. So I was like guessing, right, I'll try this. And then eventually they accepted it, and I was like, great. So it's only recently it's been put on major channels now.
Right.
And it's very possible that I'm in communication with radio station hosts and presenters, and so we're looking to get it on the mainstream, like the larger channels, like Radio 1, Radio 2, etc. So we're in communication at the moment, so I'd say it's going quite well so far on that basis.
Yeah, because since you sent me the track, of course I've been playing it on my shows on the Beat London 103.6 FM, and of course the DAB Plus and online. And it's been received very well, I can say. So,
excellent.
It's still got some life in it yet.
Yes, it has. It has. It's a very upbeat track as well. Like the lyrics is, it being called Keep Your Spirits High. I just want to bring some positive vibes, especially after what we've all been through, right? We need that kind of support and something to lift us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the track's all about that. It's like, no matter what's happening externally, do what you can to raise your vibrational energy and keep positive where you can. So that's the track.
I like how you hover between lifestyle coach, getting the best out of you, and musician. I like it. It's like, music, and let me say, we have to lift our vibrations, because that's the life coach thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's in there. It's in me. Yeah.
So will you be doing a promotional tour for this? Where can we look for you? Where can we see you? Or is it just on all the usual music platforms? Yeah,
so my website is the best place because it's the central hub with all social media links on it. So I'll just tell you what it is. It's www.
Please do, because I'll never remember the WWs and the dots. So it's best if you do it. Yeah.
So www.soul- and then emotive, spell EMOTIVE, of course, .com, and everything's on there.
Right.
Or you could just do a internet search. Not allowed to say the G word, I think. So I'll say internet search on your browser. Just you can search for my name, Vanessa Poolian, and there's lots of information on there.
Now spell it for them. POOLIAN.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Vanessa Poolian, and please repeat the website, because I always get tongue-tied with the www. So please, please repeat your website.
Sure. Yeah. So www.soul and then the little -emotive.com. It is.
Right. Okay. Well, all the very best with the track.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to seeing more of you, and I hope it takes you as far as it can go, and we get to see you doing it live.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping. And restrictions are kind of being lifted, so I'm hoping to get out there. But it's a bit slow going still at the moment with that, isn't it? So it is. We'll wait and see.
But so thank you for talking to us, the BTM Club, and of course the Beat London. All the best with the track. And
thank you so much.
We look forward to seeing you.
Yes, me too. See you again soon. Bye.
Okay, take care. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.